Okay, so this Earth Hand has asked me to answer a few questions about their palm. We're looking at a lady's palm, and I say Earth Hand because we have a square palm and short fingers. Very practical, down to earth, by the book type of person. Earth Hands are reliable and reasonable and rational and logical and practical, and they don't necessarily um, they unless other signs show us, they don't veer away from the unconventional too much. And there are some signs that show us that this is happening here in certain respects, so we'll get around to that. But the questions that they have asked me are just here, so we'll go through them one by one. And the first one, will me and my husband last? If so, are you able to tell me if he is loyal? Okay, don't like answering these questions. So, when I look at a person's palm, there is such a line that can show us. There are two main places, three I suppose, that I would look for this sort of thing in the palm. One of them is the heart line. So now we're looking at your left hand. Your left hand shows how we are affected internally, emotionally, secretively, and the right hand shows us how we're affected by those same events and circumstances, but externally and in the practical and physical world. So your one of the places I would look for how a relationship is affecting a person is the heart line. Your heart line, this person's heart line, is a bit broken. Well, there's an overlap. There's a difference between a break and an overlap. And it does tend to show how a person's emotional outlook has had to adapt and change due to circumstances. And when a heart line tends to reach towards the headline, it's as though the heart is depending on the head at that time. So that, emotions are kind of saying, okay, I need logic right now to help me guide through this difficult period. So the heart line is one thing I would look at. And the second thing is a relationship line, which curves in just on the side of the percussion. So here we're looking at, again, at the right hand and how a person is affected in the real world, so to speak. And we can see here there are three relationship lines, and sometimes referred to as marriage lines. It doesn't necessarily mean marriages. It was coined in the medieval era, back when everyone would get married. And sometimes, actually, relationship lines can be, relationships we develop with a close family member or a friend or business partner. But I can see here on the right hand, very faintly, the relationship line reaching down towards the heart line, and it's suggesting a relationship line that reaches down like this. It has been known to be called a divorce line. I don't believe that, because they can change, and they do change. A relationship line that reaches downwards shows us how, and this is the right hand, how physically, materialistically, practically, the relationship affects us. So it's reaching down towards the heart line, and it's showing us that it's affecting us emotionally. So is this person taking you for a ride financially? Perhaps. Now, the third sign I would look at in terms of, is a person being is a spouse, or is there relationship loyal? Is your husband loyal? Well, the third line I would look for is something known as, I forget the name of it, and I don't want to call it a betrayal line, but I do see something here that resembles it. And it stems from Venus, the place of love and stability, family and relationships, and it crawls up towards your place of what is revealed, how you reveal yourself to the outside world. And I've seen this on the palms of people who have themselves committed adultery, and also on the palms of people who have been mistreated in this way as well. So that's the main question when I see this line. I think to myself, well, is this person committing, or is it someone else committing betrayal? It's not always necessarily a betrayal in a love relationship. Sometimes it's a betrayal in business, because Mercury is not only a place of communication and expression, but it's also a place of skills and learning. And sometimes it shows us our business life. So we have to take things into account and kind of cross-reference all the details here. Now, your heartline shows that on your left hand, how you've already had to adapt to a difficult emotional circumstance. And it shows also someone who is, a very a loving person, someone with a great capacity to love and be loved, as does your overall Venus mount show as well. It also shows great vitality and a good immune system, but we'll get around to the health aspect in a bit. So you have high expectations as well in terms of what you expect in a loving relationship, in a partner, and you only really expect what you give yourself in relationships. So you're a very giving person, and you expect the same in others. And why wouldn't you? And why shouldn't you receive the same things as you give yourself? Treat others how you wish to be treated and all that. So this line here, it reaching up into this place of our ivory tower, how we show and express ourselves to the world. Apollo is a place of, it's our sunshine, it's our joy, and it's our talents, and it's our security and stability, but it's the sunshine in our life. It's not only the happiness in our life, but it's what makes us happy as well. And Mercury is how we communicate and express ourselves. So this entirety, this first quadrant of our palm, is the way we overall show and reveal ourselves to others. So when we have a line like this that crosses over from Venus, crosses the life, crosses our mental framework, our headline, affects our career and our emotional makeup and our happiness, our sun line, and reaches over into this place of how we, what's revealed from our personal lives into the open world. It shows the possibility here of a betrayal that becomes revealed to all. And it's not fully formed. It's not a fully formed, I don't really like calling it a betrayal line. That's not its real name. But it's not fully there, but it is there. Now, it could be that this has already been and gone, because I do see an island here that's kind of attached to it, and this here crosses over the lifeline at the age of around 23, 24, around that age. So it could be that this has already happened, and this is why your kind of emotional framework and outlook has sort of shifted and adapted. So that it could be that this has already happened. However, another way of interpreting this is that this happens around late or early 40s, because that's where it crosses the career line. So there's a matter of interpretation here. I'm uncertain because I don't really like relying on this as a sole way to come to a conclusion here. But if this is anything to go by, I don't feel all that confident. And I think actually inherently you know the answer here, because the left hand shows us what we're thinking and feeling, and the left hand is sort of showing us here on the Sun mount here, the Apollo mount, that there is a need to protect happiness later on in life. So it's almost as though you're gearing up for what you feel is inevitable. So to answer your question, I don't really have the answer. I don't know, because lines change all the time. And this line, this relationship line drooping down towards your heart line, I've seen worse, and it could improve. It's not looking good at the moment, but it could improve. I think you've been taken for a ride more than once, and I think that as a result, it's kind of put you into this more of a sort of anxious frame of mind. I think you're already an anxious person anyway, but I think because of the things that have happened to you, you're feeling, there's a feeling there that it could happen again. And partly, you're a very open person. The distance between the head and the heart line is large, and the heart line curves beautifully, and it shows that you're a very loving person, and you give a lot of yourself, and you let others in, and that's not a bad thing. Why shouldn't you be able to? But I think who you let in is the key to your happiness. Let the right ones in. Now, if the marriage doesn't work, what's the plan here? Do you have one? Is there a prenup? I don't know what country you come from, but I don't know how laws work in the country that you come from, but I think that it's important that you have a safety net, something to fall back on just in case it doesn't work out. Don't put all your eggs into one basket. That's good advice for anyone, I suppose. Now, the second question here is, will I live a comfortable life financially, i.e. home, car, etc., when? Now, on the Apollo mount here, I see a lovely sun line here, stemming from the heart line mostly. And I'm thinking that there are some artistic skills here, some definitely very creative person. The career line tends to want to come from this place of lunar, and there's a second one that starts to develop over here as well, underneath Apollo at the very least. And a success line that stems from the heart line is one of the indications of a career with artistic beginnings. But the sun line, although it's nice and strong, it's not until later in life, it's around the age of 50s and onwards. Often it's associated again as with success that stems from support from a loved one. However, there's this secondary sun line that comes in over here, And that's coming from more of a sort of family influence. And the two meet, and where they meet, there's an obstacle. This is good and bad, because this is good. Triangles are always good. A triangle on the Apollo mount is a lovely sign. It's not isolated, it's not on its own, it's converging with one of the major Palmar lines. So it's not in itself all that profound. However, it does mean that it's a strengthening and fortunate formation, showing and providing, bolstering happiness. It's not so much financially related as it is around happiness and peace. It's more around peace of mind, which can never be a bad thing. So it's almost as though there's support from family knowing the path that you're on, and that, you know, it's providing you with support at this difficult time. And it's possible there'll be some financial support from family as well at this time. So career looks stronger from mid-30s right up until this age of around early 40s. And then there appears to be a bit of a career change. So this is your primary career path here, and it's coming from this place of imagination and creativity and dreams and the unconscious. And this is partly why I think you have some artistic skills, and the career might well be related to creative endeavors. Now, around the age of early 40s, there's a career shift. There's a change in job role here. And it might be linked towards this event I mentioned earlier. And it's obviously a very difficult time, and there's a third career again that starts at late 40s as well. Yeah, and in palmistry, in our lives, there is a time for reaping and a time for sowing. And right now, it's a time for sowing. Right now, you need to put some money away. Don't let anyone know about it, because there are some difficulties ahead, and you'll make these difficulties a lot easier by preparing right now. Now, later on this month, there's going to be some difficulty ahead. I see this a lot at the moment. In most people's palms at the moment, at the end of this month, there's a bit of an obstacle. And I don't know what kind. So I highly advise that this person saves some money away for a rainy day. Don't tell anyone about it. Just keep putting a bit of money away. Keep storing it away. And when that rainy day comes, you'll know it'll be there for you to fall back on. You need to look out for you and stop giving so much of yourself away. And the third question is, what's my health like? Well, that's a bit of a tricky one. I think there are some nervous issues, some nerve issues. I don't know if there was some sort of accident early on in life and it's caused some sort of nerve damage, or if perhaps there was because I can see up here on the lifeline there's a bit of a particularly cruel spell just here. That's about the age of 12. Maybe a bit older than that. I don't know. Around there anyway, early teens. And there's kind of another one there. I think you moved home when you were about 25. Because the lifeline overlaps. It's not the same as a break. A lot of amateurs would say, oh no, your lifeline breaks, you're heading towards an accident. Load of rubbish. The lifeline breaks, the environment changes, the lifeline shifts over further away from the Venus mount, showing that the person has moved home. And that's what I believe happened here. And you can see that coming from Venus, this place of family and, stability. Venus, this large area here, is the place of home. And so there's an influence coming from here at this age, and it directly affects the lifeline. And the lifeline begins anew, further away from its original destination. And we can see that just here, like that. Okay, so this person moves. It was a particularly traumatic time. I think after this there is some periods of anxiety and depression, and it goes on for quite some time, and it looks as though this period of poor mental health wasn't resolved properly. And if we look up here, notice the dotting on the first phalanx of Mercury. This showing endocrine imbalance, some not endocrine, sorry, endocrine, however you say it. There's some imbalance here. There's the nervous system is affected, and here, I mean, in general, we have a many-lined hand, and what I mean by that is, aside from the three major Palmer lines, the lifeline, the head, and the heart, and also the career or fate line, we've also got lots of thoughts and worries and anxiety, a lot of a lack of focus here, emotionally and mentally, and probably a lot of problems and obstacles, popping up in the life as well. And as a result, a person with a kind of nervous disposition, that's what this many-lined hand shows, someone who's quite anxious anyway. And when someone becomes depressed, they are depleted in potassium because of, and it's the same for athletes, because they sweat. When you sweat too much or cry too much, you release. It's the body's way of trying to balance out potassium, and it gets rid of all of the salt in the body, and you end up depleted in potassium. So as a natural antidepressant, phos in New Era might well solve this issue here and here, and I highly recommend giving that a go, and it will help in feeling calm as well. And also when it comes to anxiety, theanine and lemon balm is an excellent non kind of pharmaceutical, non brutal, physiologically sort of brutal anti-anxiety. It will help calm It'll help calm you down within about 40 minutes. And then there's adaptogens out there as well, like ashwagandha, and they're excellent as antidepressants, again, as an alternative to pharmaceuticals. Because for someone like this that actually doesn't react all that well to pharmaceuticals, these alternatives, homeopathic and herbal, are sometimes much more effective. Now, I was touching on something here about the nerves. There might well be some nerve damage due to an accident or an incident that occurred. And it could be that this is the person's kind of nervous system firing on all cylinders because of things that have happened. And it sort of triggered this person and they've not been able to kind of come back down. It's almost as though the nervous system is in overload in some way. I don't see adrenal. Yeah, there are some adrenal issues here actually. Some adrenal burnout here as well. And the thickening here of the heart line here, where you see a large island here appear, particularly in this area in between Mercury and Apollo. It's an imbalance in metals in the blood, and a good way to balance this out is with omega-3 and sea kelp, and removing aluminium cutlery and using a water filter as well. And you often see it with people with lots of fillings, tooth fillings and piercings, and it's quite common that these sorts of metals seep into the blood and can sometimes create a thyroid imbalance. I don't see that in this person. However, there may well be some oral issues. As I've mentioned, fillings are a possibility here. So in terms of health, I think that overall the first brain of the body is the gut, and it has been affected here. So here is the health line, or the Mercury line, or liver line as it's sometimes referred to as. And it's a little bit all over the place, and it's affected by this person's nervous system, and it has all these other knock-on effects. And you can see how here the health line is sort of showing us how this person is affected, and it's all coming from this area here. This person may well have some sort of I don't know, some sort of autoimmune issue, or some sort of, maybe it's diagnosed or not. It might be a nervous issue. There might be some nerve damage. It could just be their nerves are frayed, and it's having these knock-on effects on all other areas of the body, and digestion's one of them, certainly. So, as I mentioned, a few alternatives to pharmaceuticals. I'll drop those in the description for this person below. What have my spirit guides / past loved ones or God been trying to tell me lately? Okay, well, that's a difficult one. So I see here here's a loyalty line. That's good. And it shows that you're loyal. And that is, I'm kind of answering you directly now because of your direct questions. That's, other signs have, already shown me here the kind of person you are and what you expect in others. The headline starts high on Jupiter, showing ambition, showing expectancy of honor in others, but also an honorable kind of nature in yourself as well. The headline carries on right to the very end of the palm. It's straight, that's good. It shows emotional stability when making decisions. But also the headline is longer on the right hand than on the left, and that shows that you have perhaps become a bit more anxious, a bit more obsessive, perhaps, thinking too much about what might be. It's important to ground yourself and live in the moment. You're an earth hand, it's important that you actually live up to this a bit more. Reconnect with your own inner element. And by that I mean actually just walking amongst nature itself might be really grounding for you. Quite literally lying down on the ground for 20 minutes a day. And I don't mean concrete, I mean lie on the grass. And, it sounds a bit cosmic, but we're made of water. And the Earth's magnetic pull is, we're in tune with that. And you're already someone who's in tune with nature and in tune with your own body. You kind of know instinctively a lot of what I'm telling you, but it's really important to realign. I paused it because it's hard to explain, and I haven't talked about this one for a little while. But when we wear rubber on our feet every single day, which we do here in the West, and we have done for a long time, we ever since we started doing that, we have increased an incredible amount of inflamed related diseases, and all of these things can be easily absorbed by just walking outside on the grass or lying down on the grass, skin contact with the soil for 20 minutes every day, or even running a wire through the house and connecting it to your feet whilst you sleep. Grounding yourself, quite literally. Sounds like madness, but it works. It really works. And it's because there's a kind of an alignment. We are part of nature. We're part of the earth. We're part of that living organism that's affected by the sun and the moon. And we've disconnected that connection by attaching rubber to us. We've disgrounded ourselves, if you like. And this can be a big issue for some more than others, particularly earth hands. And this might be a really simple and effective solution to a lot of this person's problems. Actually, they need to ground themselves quite literally every day for 20 minutes every day, even just 10 minutes a day, but no less. That would really, really help this person become more realigned with the Earth's magnetic pull. And in doing that, a lot of these physical issues, I mean, it'll start with the mental, will then resolve, and it will drastically improve mental health and help to live in the present. Now, I know I'm kind of going off course here a little bit because the question was about God or spirits guiding. But here we have on the Venus mount, and Venus is the lady of love and battles. So here is Venus, and here is our inner Mars, and it's connected, it's right next door to Venus. And that's because she is kind of one and the same. In fact, everything that's encompassed inside of that lifeline is all things Venus, really. And inner Mars is our place of motivation and aggression and drive, when we have to fight for those that we love, or when we are unwell. We need this fighting spirit. We need this courage, and this is where courage comes from. But also inside of the lifeline, our Mars line appears. Sometimes we have more than one, sometimes they overlap a little bit. Now, you do have one Mars line, and sometimes they're referred to as angel lines or guardian angel lines. Some people like to think of them as that. And I can see it here, and it kind of seems to be connected to your loyalty line. And I'm wondering here if there's a connection between your loyalty. Whoops, I've done it again. I'm wondering if there is a connection between your loyalty, your life, the old life you lived, and your guardian angel, so to speak. Is your guardian angel trying to tell you something? I don't know, but I do know that your Mars line, or guardian angel line, if you like, has been supporting you and assisting you, and will do up until the age of around 45, for early 40s, early to mid 40s. And after this time, this guardian angel, if you like, is no longer needed. So there is a bit of a connection there between loyalty and some inside assistance from, I like to think that it's from the Lady of Love and Battles, which might well be fitting in your case. When will things start looking up for you? Around about the age of 49. Have any of my loved ones been trying to get in touch with me? That I don't know. I don't think I can answer that one. I am sorry. That's not something I can really answer through palmistry. However, I can say you have two very good friends, and you can rely on them, and you may well need to at some point in future. The way I see it is that there are some good things coming for you. As I say, 49, but I think there are ways that you can improve your life, and that is actually through creating a safety net for yourself. I highly advise that you put some money away, that you do it in secret, maybe even. I don't know if that's necessary, but I think that you need to give to yourself more, and I think financially is a good idea at the moment, because that's just the kind of security, the future security that you might well need. And I know you're good with numbers. You're a practical person. I'm certain that you can put a plan in place, a financial plan in place, and make that happen. I think health-wise, there are a few things that I've mentioned that would really help you, and end up kind of solving other issues that you might be having around sort of mental health, and physically as well. They'll have knock-on effects physically as well. And as I say, I'll put those in the description below. I think there is happiness around the corner for you, but as I say, it doesn't begin properly until 49, and there's a little bit of a way to go yet. There are one or two obstacles around the corner, but there will be happiness for you. And I think there's a move as well later on in late 60s. I think you're going to move back from where you came from and then move home again much later on. There's quite a few changes ahead, but there will be happiness. And whatever you decide to do, certainly save up right now, because at the end of September there's going to be some sort of hurdle. Alright, so that's about everything. I don't think there's anything more I can really say here. You're a good person, I can see this. And you're owed some good karma, really. You've got the sign of, Ganesha on both thumbs here. And you've been a good person, and you are still a good person. And partly, I think, this is the reason for a lot of the bad that's happened. Sometimes us nice guys get walked all over. And it's time for you to say, no more Mrs. Nice Guy. look out for you, look out for number one, save up and make a decent safety net for the road ahead. Thank you for considering me. I hope this has all made sense, and I hope others watching have managed to learn a few things as well. Palmistry is a crazily complex gig, and I'm still learning. So if you've got any comments about this palm reading, please drop them below. And if you liked, subscribe and give it a share and all that jazz. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next one.